Hello, 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 everyone. It's Conversations with Matthew and Sarah coming to you not live from the Big D. And, well, we don't really have a topic of conversation tonight, so I told Sarah right before we got on, we're going to talk about a little contrast in our relationship. Being I like sunrises and she
like sunsets. But that's really just a metaphor, right? Because obviously sunrises are beautiful. But the whole idea here is that Matthew is a morning person.
Woo!
And I am a night owl. Woo!
Boo.
Oh, come on.
I'm in bed by 10, people. Bed by 10.
Yeah. And I'm lucky if I wake up at 10. No.
That's true. I am up at 5:30, 6 o'clock the latest, even on weekends.
Yeah. Oh, no. When it comes to weekends, I've always told you the best gift you could ever give me is me sleeping without an alarm. That is the best thing ever. I love sleep. I celebrate it. I prefer sleep. However, I will admit that those times where we were waking up at 5:30, I did...
Best times of your life.
Oh, I mean, they were exhausting. But
We did it this morning.
yeah, had to do it this morning because of my mom's medical appointment. So, I mean, it just is what it is. We tried waking up at 5:30. I think we did it for a good week and a half. Mm-hmm. And I did experience the benefit. You know, it's so different.
I want to rephrase your thing.
Huh?
We didn't try. You tried.
Well, true.
Yeah, I get up 5:30 every morning.
Well, I mean, you get up early. Maybe not 5:30.
Well,
exactly,
sometimes I'll
but
sleep into 6.
Yeah. Or 7.
I have slept to 7 on occasions.
Anyway, so I do remember those times, and it was a good feeling to have been so productive. And then it's like 9 o'clock, and it's like, wow, we've been awake for all these hours, and look at everything we did. That does feel great. It's just very hard for me to maintain that consistently. I love nighttime, but unfortunately or fortunately, the world does not cater to night owls. So those moments where I need to wake up early are what they are, but boy, are they torture. I feel like I whenever I wake up early in the morning, I feel like I have like a cement or just like a log or just something really heavy on my head that prevents me from getting up or just even feeling like I have the capability to get up. But you know what? I will say this. I have a water bottle that Matthew refuses to use.
I will not spray you with water. I told you, I am your fiance, not your daddy.
Yeah. Well.
You want to get up, you get up. If you don't, I'll let you sleep.
Well, I mean, I'm
not going to make you get up.
I mean, I'm grateful for that. But anyway, it was still an option.
But that got us to thinking, to talk, got on that tangent, but that got us to thinking, what else, or myself to thinking, what else do we have contrasting, and you out there in podcast land, y'all can feel free to comment on any of your serious relationships that you had with any contrasting stuff, because I find it when you're talking to people in relationships, there's always contrast, and they're usually, they find each other somehow. Dog people find cat people. I love dogs, not crazy about cats. I do have a feeling Sarah over here is a cat person.
I love cats.
And she hates my dogs, people. She hates my dogs.
I do not hate the dogs.
She looks at them mean. Like,
no,
if I wasn't here, they would be out on the porch.
That is not true. I love the dogs, and I do take care of them as best I can. But yeah, I definitely enjoy cats. That is for sure. Another thing, now that we're talking about opposing point of views, we had different thoughts about how to run this podcast. So if you guys haven't noticed, this has kind of been more of like ad hoc, impulsive, no real script. And that's the way that I wanted it. But Matthew is saying that he would like something to be more scripted and have some talking points and all that. And so there's another difference about us. Besides all the other stuff, he's a hillbilly, I'm a Yankee, whatever, a million other things. But in terms of the podcast, y'all tell me if I'm wrong, but I just feel like there's just so much scripted stuff out there. There's just so much. It's just bombarding YouTube and Spotify, and those are the only two places where we're at, right? YouTube and Spotify.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I was just craving listening to something that was just human. Like just sounded like, okay, I'm sitting down with my fiance and we're having a conversation. And so just wanted something to not be scripted, something that I have to prepare for stuff all the time, with the type of job that I have. So does Matthew. But that isn't this. Like coming on the podcast, having real conversations, and I'm not really worried about, I don't know, presenting facts and stats and all that. You can find that stuff anywhere else. This is more just real human to human, real life, practical, non-scripted, off the cuff, and just really seeing how much better we get over time. Because one thing that I'll admit in hearing the previous podcast we've recorded, is I'm not thrilled with all of my, I don't know, and that probably wouldn't happen if we had a scripted podcast.
I never said scripted.
Or just more.
I just like to have more talking points, bullet points, to where, like for instance, we came on when I pushed record for this episode. We had no idea what we were going to talk about. I told her maybe 15 to 30 minutes beforehand, let's discuss what we're going to talk about. Maybe so we could get some points that we want to hit. Or maybe like the other day, a Bible verse that we couldn't remember where it's from. We could go ahead and have that written out to where we could maybe throw in some, like the Bible says. Instead of the Bible says somewhere something, we could actually put the Bible says this there. I just said maybe 15 to 30 minutes beforehand we could discuss, this is what we're going to talk about. So because my way I work is I like to have things more in order, so I can start thinking, okay, this is what I want to say. This is the point I want to make today. Instead of just, like I said, we hit record and then it's, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, we don't say that when we record. But
we did today.
Well, no, we just kind of hit the button and see what happens. Like, we didn't start off this podcast saying, what do you want to talk about? We just, we just started it and see where it went. Just have it be, in the words of my cousin who called me the other day, he said organic. Just have it be organic. I remember when I wrote...
When I hear organic, I see hippie.
Whatever. So, respectfully, I love you. But anyway, so I remember years ago when I wrote a blog, I was telling Matthew earlier that all I would ever do is come up with a title and come up with an opening quote, and then I would just write everything else. Like, I would not prepare anything. I was just word vomit all over the place, and it was very therapeutic for me. It was an experience I needed to go through for my whole soul searching, soul cleansing journey and healing and catharsis and all that good stuff. And so I'm hoping that this will be something like that. Not saying that I need to go on a healing journey in particular. I guess that type of thing never ends, but seeing how we improve over time, how our conversational skills improve, and then just really feeling natural. You and I talk about so much when this thing isn't on. So I just don't see why it has to be different with it on.
Well, it's not. But back to our original topic, that's something that we have different. Some of our other differences.
Opposites do attract. Maybe we need to title this podcast episode that opposites do attract.
I was going to title it Sunrise Sunsets.
Oh, Sunrise Sunsets?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? And now that you talked about the Bible and like verses that I am terrible at memorizing, so I'm going to go to my good old friend Google.
Mr. Google.
And, I recognize that the Bible speaks very highly of early morning, waking up early, working early. I'm looking at Isaiah 50 verses 4 and 5 that says, "The sovereign Lord has given me a well-instructed tongue to know the word that sustains the weary. He wakens me morning by morning, wakens my ear to listen." Bless you, baby.
Thank you.
He wakens me morning by morning, wakens my ear to listen like one being instructed. The sovereign Lord has opened my ears. I have not been rebellious. I have not turned away. So that's one of many that talk about, I don't know, the virtues, if you will, of waking up early. And I just want to be like really clear about something. There's nothing in me as a Christian person that would ever want to do something outside of God's will. There's also nothing in me as just Sarah, the type of person that I am, that's gonna sit here and front for anyone. And for those of you that don't know what front means, in my neighborhood, we use that term to mean, make believe I'm something that I'm not in front of people. So, what I would say is, Lord, help me wake up early. If that is your will, help me to do that. Your word seems to indicate that that is your will. And, I need forgiveness because, goodness, I struggle. Like, I need a lot of help. In my conversations with God, I mean, this whole waking up in the morning and it being difficult is just the tip of the iceberg of the many things that I need help with. But I'm going to be honest about who I am. You good, bad, ugly, and different. It is what it is. I'm not here to front for anyone. I don't see what the advantage is in fronting for people. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. I don't see how that helps anybody do anything. Like, you could always tell a fraud. You could, like, how many Christians, and I mean this with all due respect, but come on, y'all have to like be honest with me. How many Christians that you could be like, man, that person's a straight fraud that's walking around playing themselves, thinking that they're playing other people, but playing themselves. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm gonna do that. That's not me. That's not my personality. So yeah, if one day I do become a morning person, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll become a mother. Mm-hmm. We're getting married soon, and once we're married, we're thinking about starting a family. If that's God's will, that would be great. And then guess what? I'm gonna have to wake up every 2 hours to feed a baby or 4 babies, which is what I really want. So, you just never know. But no matter what happens, I just want to keep on being me, because that's all I can be. And, I ask y'all to pray for me because, I need a lot of help. I'll admit that.
So I was trying to think, what else do we not have in common? And when I started this episode, I was kind of wanted it to go that way. Is I know I love sports. I'm all about football, all about baseball, and you are. No,
I don't. I'm not into sports.
Not into sports. Care. You're into more reality hip hop television shows.
Look, guys, and for those of y'all my Christian people out there, I know this is gonna sound crazy to y'all because the world is the world, but I love the show Love and Hip Hop. I've been watching that show since day one, since Love and Hip Hop New York. Shout out to the entire cast, because I'll be watching this cast and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is a dumpster fire. I pray for these people, because a lot of these people profess to be believers, even though, the way they live might have you think otherwise. But anyway, I do pray for these people, but I love that show. New York, Atlanta, Miami, Hollywood, all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love that show, and it is what it is. And and then sometimes, when I pray for them, I think to myself, Lord, whether it comes to that type of reality show, whether it comes to music, I'm grateful for the things that have been taken away thus far. Like, there's some hip hop music that I just don't listen to anymore because the lyrics are crazy, like super vulgar, super like violent and all that. And there are some that I still listen to, in particular from back in the day. Like, if you're like 90s, 2000s type of thing, that's more my thing. I don't know anything about the music of today. But yeah, babe, you want to expand on the whole sports thing? And I don't know, do you need help from God? Can I just ask you that question?
But I do. I love sports a little too much. I've watched everything from darts to bowling to golf to, of course, the big ones: football, baseball, basketball, hockey. Also, I do not like the hip hop nor the hip hop TV shows.
You like some hip hop?
I do like some hip hop. I break it down with some Tupac back today.
Yeah, you rocked with me with some hip hop songs.
But to watch a hip hop reality television show, I will have to say thanks, but no thanks. I listen to Sarah talk about them and act like I know them, and she talk about them like she knows them. But and I'll say, oh, I can't believe that sister did that. But I have no clue half the time what she's talking about. G Boogie and the rest of them.
What? Oh,
and so I am not really into the reality shows that much.
Yeah, and you're right. I'm not into sports, but I will sit here and this is how y'all know that Matthew is the one for me because I will sit here and watch football with him. I will sit here and watch sports and just like listen to him explain what everything is. I don't understand any of it. I'm not going to retain any of it, but I'm just like, "Oh, okay, great." And yeah, I guess that's what the bottom line is. You know, despite all the differences, despite how opposites have attracted in this case, definitely, we still love each other. And I think that personally, guys, I learned what love was from the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13 specifically. I know that one, you know, and it's the one. There's a lot more to it, but it's the verse that talks about love is patient, love is kind, etc., etc. That's where I learned what real love is. And of course, Jesus Christ taught us that love is self-sacrificial. And so, but I also want to say that everything that Matthew and I go through, the things that I do for him, whether it is cooking, washing the dishes, like we really cooperate with each other, not just because it's the right thing to do, because we don't live under the law of being right as Christians. We live under the law of love. So, you know, and being Christ-like is what produces obedience. You know, I remember the Old Testament in Psalms, it talks about, I hope it's Psalms, it talks about how obedience is worth more than sacrifice. But it's not something that weighs on me. I'm not here like, oh, I have to. And I know a lot of y'all are thinking, oh, well, they just got together. Wait until they're together a year or 2 years. You know, things are going to change. And you may be right. You know what I'm saying? You may be right. I mean, I don't know any better, but I can tell you, as someone who spent a long time being single and just by myself years, and not really serving a man in this way, it's really amazing how wonderful and to me it's an honor and a blessing to submit to Matthew. And he ain't even my husband yet, but to me it's an honor. I mean, I love him. He is perfect for me. There's, you know, of course I want to make him feel comfortable. I want him to feel happy. I want him to feel confident and secure. I don't want him to stress over stuff like the food or anything like that. And he does the same for me. So it's a beautiful thing. It doesn't feel like a burden at all. I finally know what it is to be in a healthy relationship where love for real and in a biblical sense is being expressed.
And that was the gist of this show is you know, you take a lot of times the world will tell you that, you know, and especially in this day and age with all the political and the are you right or left, or are you know, donkey or an elephant, or are you red or blue, whatever.
You know about the donkey of the day. You know about it. Shout out to the Breakfast Club, which is kind of whack right now since Angela Yee left, but whatever. So anyway, you do know about the donkey and the day. You be acting like you don't know.
The donkey and the elephant. That's a Republican or a Democrat.
Oh, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah, so we're two totally different. We're two totally different things. Totally different.
I'm sorry.
You just throwing up a Hail Mary over there.
I'm sorry. I still got my Love and Hip Hop
You
brain
did.
on right
Get your
now.
Love and Hip Hop.
Yeah.
But I was saying that, you know, the world is so divided on everything. It's you have to be with me or you're against me and all of this stuff. But we are just wanted to talk about differences can be celebrated. I mean, differences can be. I'm trying to learn some of Sarah's culture. We ate pupusas the other day.
Pupusa, shout out to my Salvadorans. Yep, my family's from El Salvador, and we love those pupusas.
They were good. There was some stuff there that I would not drink or eat again, but there was some stuff that was very good. Mm-hmm. And then, and she's, you know, went to home with me to Georgia and ate fried food and fried breakfast. And so, you know, differences can be celebrated.
Yeah, and the person that just called my name was my mom. We talked about how she lives with me, and so therefore she lives with us. But yeah, you're right. Differences could be celebrated. And here's the thing. Look, y'all, like Like, if you're out there and you're single and you feel like, oh, there's no one for me, in particular if you're a Christian. I mean, if you're not a Christian, God bless you, but I'm talking to Christians right now. Like, if you're a Christian and you're single and you just feel like, there's no one else and there's no one out there for me, I got to settle for something. I'm going to tell you, you don't. You don't have to compromise. You don't have to settle. I mean, look at us. Matthew has, not only is he part of a culture that I love, that I always wanted to be a part of, but didn't know how because I'm so opposite of that, but he just blends so well with my differences, just like I blend with his. Like, it is possible to have what you want. Like, these are things that God put in your heart for a reason. And I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be. I remember a few years ago, I dated somebody who was a good person, who was willing to do the church thing with me or whatever. And I almost entertained the thought of like, oh, well, I'm almost 40. No one else is going to want me. I'm old, whatever. Maybe I should just be here. But the truth is, that man is wonderful. I hope he's happy with whoever he's with. But that wasn't for me. And I didn't have to settle for that. And just because of my age, that doesn't mean I have to settle. Like, I had to get to a point where I had to be like, I'm okay being alone. It's either going to be right or it's going to be nothing, because I'm not going to risk the most important decision of my life, which is who I'm going to marry, being the wrong decision. It's like trusting God, waiting on his timing. I mean, you look at Abraham and Sarah. Sarah was like 90 something when she had Isaac. I'm not trying to say that's going to be me, but I'm just saying there are obviously examples in the Bible of like, people that have been able to achieve things at a point in their life where it seemed impossible. So who knows? We might have babies. We might not have babies. Who knows? But in terms of like being with somebody, there is someone for everyone, I believe, if you're destined for marriage. Some people are not, and that's okay too. But I think that whoever is destined for marriage, there is someone out there, and waiting on God's timing is not easy, but boy, is it worth it.
It is. So I think we're done for tonight. Differences are different, as you can tell in a lot of these episodes.
Wait, 1 second. I want to hear about how you need help from God. Oh, you don't want to talk about that?
Anyway, that is another one of our differences.
Be another one? Okay.
Sarah is an open book, and I'm more of a closed vault.
Okay, baby.
But anyway, podcast land, please put in the comments anything that you and your significant other, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever differences y'all have, and how y'all come through those differences, and how you celebrated those differences, and any funny stories from those differences like me and Sarah have, things you can laugh about. You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, we laugh a lot.
We do.
We laugh a lot.
But y'all have a good night.
Good night.